and welcome back to the Air Showroom podcast, or should I say Guten Tag, with some of the announcements we've had this week. I am your host, my name is Dan, and joining me are my two co-hosts, Harry.
Salutations.
And Chloe.
Hello.
We've had quite a busy week of aircraft updates from a lot of shows. We've had the RAF participation start to be confirmed by shows all over the UK. And that means it is absolute nightmares to keep up with what's going on, especially with some shows like Shuttleworth where they have 50 million air shows.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been a really good set of updates over the last couple of weeks. And I think we're going to get straight into the messy business with RIAT and start off with some of the announcements that they had. So we'll start with the flying display announcements from them. And I'm just going to go back 2 weeks to the previous announcement where we had the Slovakian Black Hawk added to the flying display. This is the first time we'll have a Slovakian Black Hawk at the show. This is only the second time we've had a Black Hawk in the flying display because last year was the first time when we had the Swedish one join the flying display. So very, very cool addition. One for definitely the enthusiasts in terms of a rare item, and really, really looking forward to seeing that.
Definitely. What makes it feel even rarer is the fact that Slovakia only have a fleet of 9 as well, which they are planning to get another pair of UH-60Ms and 12 UH-60Ls.
So they are looking at expanding the fleet, yeah.
Yes.
But ultimately, very rare. It's
Yes.
kind of up there when you get the Czech Gripen, because I think people don't realise when we have the Czech Gripen come across, they only have a teens amount of figures. They don't have, I think the number is 12, might be mistaken on that. But yeah, they don't have a lot. So very rare. Very, very cool addition. And it's, like I said, the first time that we've had one in the flying display ever from Slovakia. And then I'm going to very swiftly move on because I get to now brag because I've got a point. Get in!
Time.
So I've got a point because the Germans decided that they were going to announce their entire fleet of aircraft this week. And I mean an entire fleet of aircraft because we have been treated to an absolute bumper update of aircraft from the German Air Force, who have very recently become really, really good supporters of the show in terms of both the flying and the static display, which I will start off with what was my prediction for the flying display. The German Tornado will be taking part in the flying display this year for the first time in some stupid amount of years. If you don't include the couple of flypasts we had in 2023 with the refueling demo. But yeah, it's a solo demo. And it's actually not the one that's been coming over the last couple of years. It's a new one for this year.
From the 51st Squadron, which, as people who may or may not know me know, I'm a sucker for a tiger skin, and this is a tiger squadron. So there's a good chance that we might be able to see a tiger scheme with this.
And they are going to the Tiger Meet in May, aren't they, as
They
well?
are,
Or May or
yes.
June, whenever it is.
So there's a really good chance that there's something tiger related on it.
Yeah, so the Germans last year started to work up a Tornado demo. And they started, what squadron was it? 31st Squadron, I think? Something like that. So they had a different demo that worked up last year, which is actually doing shows this year. The squadron that we've got coming to RIAT is only doing 2 shows. So it's their first season on the display circuit.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, we do get a special scheme, and I'm sure it'll be ragged about just as much as the other demo team have done. But a brilliant addition to the flying display. It adds to the fighter meet theme that we have, and hopefully it shuts a lot of Facebook comment going through. But no, in all jokes aside, it's really, really good to have the Tornado back in the flying display, and this time as a full demo rather than just the couple of flypasts we've had in the more recent years.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the full demo's like.
Yeah, and hopefully Tiger Scheme. Fingers crossed.
Fingers for the photos, mainly for the photos.
For the photos, yeah, for the photos. Also, as the flying display from the Germans is not one but another 2 items. They have added their Eurofighter EF2000, which again is different to the one that we had in, I believe, 2024. Mm-hmm. So in 2024 we had what was the Bavarian Tigers?
Noble.
Noble was flying that year, and that's from the Fighter Squadron 74. This year we are getting a different Typhoon or Eurofighter demo from them, which is from 31 Squadron. They are not a Tiger Squadron, so unfortunately we probably won't get potentially a special scheme from them unless they develop one. But again, this is a newer demonstration to the circuit. So the Germans have provided us with 2 new demos But ultimately, again, fitting with that fighter theme, which now takes our fighter count up to 3.
And something around that, with a lot more to come.
Yeah, so we've had 2 self-confirmations, one yesterday, as we're recording this is the 4th of April, so on the 3rd of April we got the UK Typhoon schedule, which we will talk about later.
When it's officially confirmed.
Yes, but they have put their schedule down for RIAT, and I can't remember if we have or haven't mentioned it in the previous podcast, but the Spanish F-18 demo has also added RIAT to their schedule again. Until it's confirmed by RIAT, don't hope on it, but things are looking pretty good. That would take us up to, if those 2 were to be confirmed, 2 Eurofighter demos, 2 F-18 demos, and a Tornado demo, which pretty happy with that.
Can't complain with that at all.
No, I'm getting some Cold War, I guess, built aircraft into the flying display, which I'm sure Harry will be very appreciative of as well.
Indeed.
And then what's now a RIAT regular, coming back to the flying display for its 5th year in a row, is the German Army NH90, which they'll be bringing one for the flying display and one for the static display as well, which is from Transport Squadron 10. Now, if you'd, 5-10 years ago, an NH90 display and the RIAT flying displays would have been rare. We previously to that, we'd only had Finnish Army variants really in the flying display. But now we're treated one to basically every year become a RIAT regular. And it's quite a dynamic display as well. It's really nice to see them back in the flying display and joining that big contingent of German aircraft that we've had announced.
It is. Plus, it's got a really nice camo scheme that when it's in this, even in the dark, cloudy British skies, it just pops still.
Yeah, it is a very nice scheme. And it joins a plethora of other NH90s at the show. We've covered the Belgian NH90 doing the search and rescue demo with the historic helicopter Sea King. We've also got a Netherlands NH90 on the static display, which we will cover very, very shortly as well. Carrying on with the German contingency, we had 4 aircraft added to the static display. We had a German Air Force CH-53. We had a German Navy Sea-Lynx. We had a German Air Force A400 and a German Air Force A321, which is just brilliant. It is really, really good support from the Germans and probably a bumper update that was needed, I think, for some people.
Definitely.
For RIAT. But yeah, the A321 is rare. We haven't seen one before at RIAT. The Germans received them in 2022 as part of their executive transport fleet, which then hits the second aircraft to meet our Royal Flight theme, which is really, really nice to see as well. And unfortunately, it's not their white and white, black, red, and yellow one. And it's also not their A350, which means I don't get my other point. Shame on that. But yeah, ultimately, a really, really good addition. And another one for me, which I think is the standout one. This is probably the last year we will see the Sea-Lynx from the German Navy as well, because I believe they're retiring them at the end of this year or early next year, which I believe they've added a special scheme for, have they not?
A nice tiger scheme. It's a half and half one. So one side's like a goldy colour, the other side's, I think it's like a navy
blue, navy black, blue. Yeah, sort of navy grey, yeah. Definitely a brilliant addition to the static display, and to have it now 2 years in a row with the German Navy, especially with them going out retirement. I mean, it's the last of its kind, basically, especially around Europe. There's not, I can't think of any other nations that have Sea-Lynxes. So a really good addition. Hopefully they do bring that special scheme. We don't know if it is, but
because that's a great way to go out. Bring it in the best scheme possible.
Absolutely, it'd be brilliant to do. And then you've kind of got RIAT-ish regulars of the CH-53 and the A400, which for the first time in a couple of years will be on the static display, because we've had it in the flying display for 3 years straight.
Something like
2025, 24, 23, yeah, 3 years straight. So have it on the ground, park it up next to the Belgian Air Force, which I think we were talking, Chloe, we were saying that there's a chance this year to have quite a big ground presence of A400s.
There is,
because we've got the Germans, we've got the Belgians. We can potentially assume that the RAF might send theirs. But then, with ongoing nations, you've got people like Luxembourg who also operate the A400. So we could have a larger ground gathering of A400s. So maybe want to look back at the history books and see how many we've had on the ground before.
And if RIAT put them all in a line, that would be an amazing shot as well. Don't know how you fit it all in a camera, but people will find a way.
That's for you to figure out on the day if it does happen. Also, during the static display from previous week's announcements, the Netherlands confirmed a couple of aircraft. They added to the fighter theme. We've got our first fifth generation fighters.
And not just one of them either.
No, we have two. So two F-35 As from the Netherlands Air Force will be joining the static display and joining that fighter line, as RIAT have teased it, going probably right at the end of the chronological order with fifth generation fighter jets. Which was this last time I think we had them at the show was 2023. So nice to see them back, and nice to see a pair of them back as well.
It is. It's always nice to see two together.
Yeah, absolutely. And also we got their NH90 back in the static display as well, which is 860 Squadron or 860 Squadron, which again...
Really, really nice. There's a nice decal on the side as well.
Yeah, really good supporters of air shows around the UK as well, because I think they were at
Definitely.
Cosford last year as well.
Yes.
So really nice to see them back at the airshow scene. RIAT did also say as well that there was a potential that we could have more aircraft from the Netherlands Air Force, but that will be confirmed later down the line due to commitments, etc.
Operational priorities.
Yeah, so that'll be coming down. And finally, well, penultimately, should I say, the Jordanian C-130, which we said, or RIAT said they should get official confirmation for at some point, which will be supporting the Jordanian Falcons, will be available, according to the RIAT website, all 3 days of the show, and they'll be bringing their culture tent with them again at the back of the C-130. Would 100% go recommend looking at those. We walked through it last year. It's got some really interesting things, interesting photos, and especially if the British weather decides it's going to turn for the worst, hopefully not, touch wood, it's something definitely to go and spend 5 or 10 minutes in there. And you can also buy some, I think they had tops and t-shirts and things and stuff there last year. So if you like your merch, you can go buy some merch as well. But yeah, great to have it back on this on the static display. And it's another heavy, isn't it?
Yeah. And the cultural tent's a nice touch as well, because it really makes you feel closer to the pilots who actually go there, because you get to see how they kind of live their lives and what's involved in their lives outside of flying, and sometimes inside of flying, because you get the military culture stuff in there.
Yeah, so really, really good, and would 100% recommend checking out that tent. It's normally at the back of the C-130. I think they said they were going to park it at the east end. So that's, if anyone doesn't know, that's about a round red or yellow entry point normally. So go have a look. And then finally, we have a civilian-owned aircraft, which is a Piper J3 Cub, but it's in a special livery. It's been repainted from what it previously is in 2023, and it is now adorning a new aircraft.
Called Little Blue Cloud. And the reason it's called this is because it's a really nice blue and white scheme that makes it look a bit like a cloud with the way it's done. It's not a full, how do you describe? It's not a straight line one. It's one that's curved a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely
the paint lines are curved.
Yeah, sort of like a camo.
Yeah.
And is representing NE-1 from Airship Squadron 32, which I think was based in California and was helping for patrols, etc. So really nice addition to that, and some unique aircraft added to the static display, I think, for RIAT, with lots of nations on the ongoing list still to come as well. And as far as we're concerned, we're still trying to hype up for RIAT. There are, I guess, uncertainties flying around, etc. But until we know and we get told, we've just got to hope that it's going ahead, and hope things sort themselves out around the world so that it does go ahead, basically. And with the tornado in the flying display, I really hope it does go ahead, because, 100%.
Because it's always a massive hit whenever they send tornadoes around.
100%. 100%. Alrighty, I think that is enough from RIAT, I believe. And I think we have talked about everything to do with RIAT and the massive German contingent. So thank you to the German Air Force for that. Thank you to all the other Air Forces that are sending these to RIAT, because it's great to see you. Next, we will move on to the other big Premier UK show, I would probably say, and that is Cosford Air Show, who, again, still announcing one item per Friday at the moment for the flying display, and one item for the static display on a Sunday. But I think they've had a pretty decent lineup of aircraft so far. So they announced over the last 2 weeks the Mistral Warbirds F-86 Sabre, and then as of yesterday, they announced the RAF Red Arrows. Probably to no surprise, I'd say,
Yeah.
joining the RAF's only air show left. But nice to see that they are on the display circuit, and it kind of gives us that better idea of whether or not they are going on this tour or not. So they're definitely going to be in the UK around mid-June. Whether or not it's after that they leave, we'll see. We don't know. The RAF, the Red Arrows, have actually been pretty quiet about releasing their schedule. You know,
I think they're one of the few that haven't released a schedule around this time, along with all the other RAF assets.
Yes, we've had the Typhoon one, we've had the Tutor one.
Yes.
I don't believe the BBMF have released theirs yet, but they've been confirming a heck of a lot of shows.
Yeah.
I believe the Red Arrows have only confirmed a couple of shows, which we are going to talk about that for the shows that they have confirmed. But yeah, they've been pretty quiet in terms of their social media presence and their schedule, so we'll see what comes from that. But I think my highlight for what Cosford have been able to do is that F-86 Sabre from Mistral Warbirds, because, you know, it was only last podcast we were talking about, they just don't have that thing yet. And I don't think it's it's not a French Rafale, it's not a, Cotu Delta from, the two Mirages from France. But it's definitely an addition that adds something to the show that we didn't have before. And also, it adds on top of the Vampire that we've got on top of that as well.
Yeah, a nice little rarity, I'd call it. I think that just makes it go a bit more on top of some of the other ones.
Yeah, because it's not like Cosford has a bad lineup in terms of what they've got. I think it's pretty I think it's a standard Cosford lineup. If I was going to say anything, you've got your Vampire, you've got your Sabre, you've got the Red Bulls Flying Bulls team. So it's not a bad set of additions.
I think after last year, it's going to be a hard one to top up because they had a few more international participants than usual.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are looking forward to the international participants, and after last year, some people are saying that they want more international ones.
Well, yeah, because we actually got any international? Well, we've got one self-confirmation, which the Belgian Red Devils parachute display team released their schedule in the last week.
I think it was last week.
And they have self-confirmed for Cosford. Again, we'll wait to see from Cosford themselves whether or not we get that or not. But again, that's the first international participant. But other than that, things are pretty scarce for international participants in terms of international military, should we say? Because obviously the Sabre is from France. It's Mistral Warbirds, as we spoke about in last podcast. So yeah, I think we're starting to get there with Cosford, but they're still releasing one item per Friday, and if you assume what's to be next, you probably say the Tutor, the Falcons, the BBMF, maybe the Chinook.
Because they've been
pretty quiet as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
So realistically, we haven't got many more not guessable updates from RAF Cosford left before we actually get to the show. 5 updates time takes you to mid-May.
Yeah.
And then what, you've got 4 weeks to the show?
Something like that, yeah.
So, we're getting really close to airshow season. I can't wait. But yeah, no, it's be interesting to see what else Cosford pull out. Maybe they do what they've done in other shows where or other years where they've announced a couple of acts on the same day. I wouldn't be surprised if we get the Falcons and the Belgian Red Devils, I think, on the same day potentially.
That'd be a cool way to announce them both.
Yeah,
two parachute teams in one.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, brilliant little addition. And would be nice to see. They've also been announcing some static items as well. We've had 2 biplanes added to the static. One Boeing Stearman and a
Canary.
Yes, a Canary. 2 both radial engine biplanes, very similar in stature. If you looked at photos online, you probably wouldn't see much of a difference between the two. And it was that much of a difference that I forgot to add the Canary to the list of items that we need to talk about, because I thought I'd already listed it with the Boeing Stearman. But again, 2 nice little things. So the Canary is operated by Naval Aircraft Factory, and I think there's only 2 examples in the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, that's.
So it'd be nice to see them in the UK, and obviously the Boeing Stearmans. We've got quite a few of those in the UK. They're used a lot for wing walking, etc. I think where our aero superbatic wing walkers, they have at least 3 or 4 Boeing Stim and biplanes, but definitely in addition to the static displays that would be cool to have around. You could have it probably parked in the grass
Yeah.
at Cosford. But yeah, Cosford slowly plodding along, getting there with the items that they're announcing, and slowly getting there. Alrighty then, so moving away from more military themed air shows, we're going to move on to Shuttleworth. Now, Shuttleworth have been very busy, very active every 10 a.m. for the last week, because they have got all of their RAF allocations, like other smaller air shows around the UK, and have been popping these out like nobody's business on the mornings, basically. So we have had every Royal Air Force item bar the Red Arrows
I believe so.
all
Yes.
popped to different shows. So what I'll do is I'm going to very quickly go through the RAF assets and tell you what shows they've been at, and then we're going to go to some of the other international and civilian aircraft that have been added as well, because it's not just the RAF assets they have announced. So for their Premier Air Show, the BBMF Dakota will be flying. Also at the Premier Air Show will be the RAF Falcons. The RAF Typhoon will be at the Festival of Flight Sunday only. The Battle of Britain Memorial Flight Spitfire and Hurricane will be at the Festival of Flight as well, both days. The Flying Proms will also have the BBMF Dakota, and then the Military Air Show will have a BBMF Spitfire. So I guess we could jump into one of the RAF acts and talk about the Royal Air Force Falcons parachute display team.
Yeah, they perform manoeuvres whilst flying up to 120 miles per hour, and all the members are drawn from the personnel of the Airborne Delivery Wing at Bryce Norton. Unlike the Red Arrows, they get about 3 years before they have to return to RAF duties.
So a brilliant addition to the Shuttleworth lineup as well, then there.
Definitely.
They've got quite a big team. Chloe did a load of research onto the RAF Falcons, and she found that they have quite a big, extensive team of different parachutists, deputy officers, etc., ranging from really experienced to some very new people to the RAF, especially the parachute regiments. And but yeah, I think it suits the sort of the Shuttleworth guys. It suits the Shuttleworth air shows. It'll be a brilliant addition to the Shuttleworth shows, 100%. We're going to move, staying on the ideas of Shuttleworth. We're going to get the Wings and Wheels show, which we had a really cool announcement, probably only quite recently after recording the last podcast, where they announced that they're going to have a quartet of chipmunks, or as Chloe learned the nickname for them,
Chippies.
Chippies, at the Wings and Wheels show. Now, we obviously know it's the 80th anniversary of the chipmunk, because multiple shows have been dedicating their sort of things to them, whether it's a flying display like Cosford, they've also got one static, etc. So, you know, other shows have done the same, but this is the first show to include 4, but they have got a collection of different chipmunks, is probably the better way to describe it. We have the chipmunk that's part of the Shuttleworth collection.
Yes.
We have a pair of other chipmunks, one provided by, I can't remember who it is, Navy Wings, and one of the other ones is a bright red chipmunk, because it has some history, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That particular chipmunk is from the Henlow chipmunk group, and the reason why it's no red is because it was a specific modification for royal service, as that is the chipmunk that a lot of royalty have learned to fly in. So we have King Charles III, which we all know he absolutely loved flying in the RAF, so he's obviously, in 1969, that's what he learned to fly in. But there's also some other royal members that aren't as
prominent
with the RAF and involvement in that. And that includes Prince William, Prince Charles, and Prince Philip, amongst others,
who have all learned to fly in this singular chipmunk.
Yeah.
Which is really, really, really cool. And to have that as part of a Shuttleworth flying display with 3 other examples of chipmunks is an absolute rarity. 100%, it is brilliant.
And it feels like a privilege as well to be able to see one in just bright red.
Yeah.
Knowing the significance of it and the fact that it's royalty's literally sat in it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, Harry, you being a historical buff, can really, really appreciate the fact that Shuttleworth have got not only 4 chipmunks that are 80 years old, but one that the king himself has flown and learned to fly in.
Oh yes, no, I can 100%. I'm blown away by how they've managed to secure that. I think it's a real honour that they've been able to secure, as you've said, a aircraft that literal members of the royal family and adjacent have learned to fly in. So it's a massive honour, and it's a brilliant piece of history as well. So yes, I'm very happy about that.
Oh yeah, it's really, really cool. Really, really. And I think it's also probably a fitting way to celebrate 80 years, isn't it?
I'd
To
say
have
so.
that lineup of different aircraft and to have that royal connection to the Shuttleworth show as well. I also believe for the Wings and Wheels.
And the final chipmunk, before we forget that one, is from Chipmunk WD292 Limited, which originally came from West London Airfields to Fenland Airfield after 24 years of RAF service. So it got sent from London when they finally decided to retire it fully.
So a really cool selection of aircraft. Really, really cool
Definitely.
selection of aircraft. And
All with completely different schemes as well.
yeah, I think the Shuttleworth is a bright yellow.
Yes, it is.
Then we've got, is it the red and white one? There's the silver and yellow one.
Yeah.
And there's the bright red one.
Yeah.
So lots of different things. It'd definitely be cool. One for the photographers there as well as the aviation enthusiasts. So really, really cool from Shuttleworth and the Wings and Wheels show. We'll move on to the next show, which we've already talked about, which is the Premier Air Show. So just to recap, they've got the Dakota and the RAF Falcons for that. Also added to that show is an airshow regular around the UK skies, a brilliant aircraft that we always love seeing, and it's the Navy Wing Swordfish who will be taking part in that flying display as well, the Premier Air Show, which we've covered the the Swordfish. How many times now on these podcasts? 4 or 5 at least.
I've lost track.
Which we've had cool facts about where it's come from, the random names that they've been given by pilots, where we've had to skirt around the actual reasons why. But yeah, it's a really good addition, and it's nice to see that Navy Wings are getting their aircraft out and about again, because it's always nice to see at the show, including places like Midlands. Is it going to Cos? Was that announced for Cosworth?
Can't remember off the top of my head.
It's been announced for that many. It's been a struggle keeping track of airshow announcements this year so far. We will skip back forward to the Festival of Flight. No, we won't, because I've just been pointed out the BBMF Dakota.
Because we haven't discussed
because
the
I've
Dakota.
completely forgot to discuss the BBMF Dakota. Thank you, Chloe, for
Blasphemy.
keeping me from running off.
Heresy,
so the BBMF Dakota, it's the first time we've seen it in a couple of years. It's been in long-term maintenance.
Yes.
Which the BBMF had loaned Dakota for their training, because, as you're about to tell us, the Dakota doesn't just have a display thing for the BBMF, but it also has a training purpose as well.
Because that's the one that trains pilots for when they take over in the Lancaster.
Yes. So the BBMF uses chipmunks, linking back to the previous aircraft, as their tail drag, learning how to fly one of those to link up to the Spitfire and Hurricane. But the Dakota, it is your training aircraft for the Lancaster before you're allowed to go and move on to that.
Yes.
And this is its first airshow season back fully, because it joined sort of back halfway through last year. And it's adoring, very different scheme to most of the Dakotas.
This year it will be having the Southeast Asia Command colours on it. So for those of you that don't know, the Southeast Asia Command was a Supreme Allied headquarters which operated from 1943 to 1946. It was created as a joint Anglo-American command with British leadership and American deputy, which officially began operations on November 1st, 1943. And for the history buffs, some of you will know that it played a crucial role in coordinating Allied effects across Burma, India, and China, which subsequently contributed to Japan's defeat in Southeast Asia. So there's a lot of historical significance behind this scheme.
And it's not a scheme that we regularly see, because we see normally, if I imagine a Dakota, the scheme I see is just the full green, and then the D-Day stripes, and then the black and white D-Day stripes. And that is a picture of a Dakota that comes to my mind when it comes to Dakota. But this is different. This has different colours and a different RAF roundel.
Yes, it does. So it's going to be definitely one not to miss.
Absolutely, 100%. So for those of you that, if you've not seen it, which most of you probably have, but if you haven't, it's a green and brown camo, and is using the East Asian roundels that we use for the RAF, which is a light blue inner circle and the darker blue outer circle. So really, really different, really, really cool to see. And it's not just we're going to a couple of Shuttleworth shows, as we'll discuss further down the line. As we said, this one is going to be one hell of an RAF update this week. And hopefully shows have finished announcing them by the end of next week, because it's hard to keep track.
And it's really nice to see the Dakota back on the airshow circuit fully for this season.
It is. It's really nice. And it seems like, when we'll look at some of the shows later down the line, that it's going to be taking the place of the Lancaster at some shows as well.
Yes.
On to the Festival of Flight, where we had a few announcements from them. As I've previously mentioned, we have the RAF Typhoon. So this is one of the first announcements we got from the RAF Typhoon of where they were going to be going. And as always, they like to change their pilot every year, and we have a new pilot.
The very first Welsh pilot, which some of you may know that he's been given the call sign Dragon 01, and his name is Flight Lieutenant Tom Nation.
I think a very fitting call sign, say he's from Wales.
Definitely.
But someone with a lot of history as well.
And a very cool call sign for a Typhoon as well.
Yes, Dragon 01 is really cool.
And so going to the history of the pilot, he started off as a glider instructor at 16 before he joined the RAF in 2015.
Which is absolutely mental.
Yeah, that's why they just get younger by the year.
They do, yeah.
And then he moved over to the Typhoon in early 2021, where he chose to serve with 6th Squadron for the operational duties, as I'm sure they have to do operational duties before they can do display duties.
I believe so, yeah.
Similar to the Red Arrows and a lot of the RAF display teams.
Yeah.
Before he returned to the 29th Squadron in 2024, where he began his instructional tour, because most of them go on to train others onto Typhoons or the Hawks, depending on the display team. So he is now the predecessor to Squadron Leader Nathan Sawyer, who was last year's display pilot, who he's also friends with. So it's a really nice passing the baton. Yeah,
passing the baton on. And it's not the last Typhoon display pilot that we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about another one later down the line as well. Hinting forward to when we talk about the Red Arrows later on.
Yeah.
Also at the Festival of Flight, we have a pair of BBMF items with the Spitfire and Hurricane that will be taking part in the flying display as well. I believe it's on both the days of Festival of Flight. So remembering the Typhoon is only Sunday. It's the BBMF supporting Shuttleworth shows really well. I think it goes with the theme of Shuttleworth being quite the older generation of aircraft.
Definitely.
And it'll be one of them. God knows how many Spitfires and one of their 2 Hurricanes.
Well, they've got 5 Spitfires in total, so it'll be one of those. And they've got 2 Hurricanes, so it'll be one of those.
So, yes, looking forward to seeing that.
Yes.
And I think what I think is your highlight, Chloe, the Festival of Flight, and it's the reason why we don't actually have any pictures of this display from Cosford last year, because you were so engrossed in it, is Melanie Estelles will be bringing her extra 330 SC to the Festival of Flight, which is already looking to be a brilliant air show. But to the small airfield of Shuttleworth, this is going to be one hell of a display.
I think, was it Cosford we saw at last?
Yes, it was
Cosford
Cosford,
or Midlands.
Yeah, Cosford last year.
And I just remember I was trying to tell you to get the camera off me to take photos, but by the time I did, she finished the display.
Yeah.
But that's how amazing it was seeing her for the first time flying.
Yeah, she makes me feel sick flying that plane, because some of the manoeuvres that she does are incredible. And
basically a female Rich Goodwin at this point.
A female Rich Goodwin is probably a good thing to say.
Takes the aircraft to its limit.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a Shuttleworth debut as well, so the Shuttleworth have never had Melanie at the show in her extra 300, but it'll be a brilliant thing to see. 100%. Yes.
She's definitely an inspiration to women, the way she flies, and the fact she's also the only woman to compete and win a Red Bull air race event, and also being a 6-time French aerobatic champion in 5 different levels.
Shows you have a lot of skill, doesn't it, with an aircraft, if you can get all of those as well.
And just to make things even better, Shuttleworth are offering an opportunity to meet her in a Q&A session. So definitely one for the younger generation to go and ask her questions. Also, if you're older and you want to figure out how to get into flying aircraft, she's probably the one you'd talk to.
100%, and I think it's a good idea to go and, if you're interested in any aviation whatsoever,
Yes.
go and ask how she got into it. Go and see what her path was, because not everyone's path's the same. You know, we've looked at, you know, the current Typhoon display pilot for this year got into it through gliding.
Yes.
Melanie's got into aviation through aerobatics. There's some other people that we're going to look at later down the line in the show that have also got into aviation from different angles and stuff as well.
And you don't have to study anything to do with aviation at university to end up going to it, as we will discuss in the Red Arrows
Red Arrows are going to have lots of things coming later down the line. So yeah, brilliant to see you, Melanie. And the Festival of Flight Air Show is one definitely I'd say not to miss this year, with all the flying bull stuff.
Yeah.
With the Typhoon on the Sunday, Melanie's on both days. You've got the BBMF. I'm pretty sure I'm missing some other things that have been announced for it. Avalanche and Mark 1 has been one of them.
They've definitely pulled out all the stops for this year's Festival of Flight.
Yeah, 100%. And
that's not even considering the other air shows where they have extra bits like Wings and Wheels, the Herbie car and the DeLorean.
Yes.
Just the little extra things they add to make every air show different.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yes. Which also brings us to the Flying Proms Dakota announcement.
Yeah, so we've said the Shuttleworth have already had the Dakota from the BBMF, but the Flying Proms is very different, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's not a normal air show. Well,
it's an air show, but with orchestral symphony. So imagine having a Dakota flying about the sky with an orchestra playing in the background.
Yeah, very different.
Just the mood music for it.
It is very, very cool. And again, Shuttleworth do so many different things to try and keep themselves unique to everything.
And the fireworks at the end of the night as well.
Yeah, it's one way of doing it. 100%. And also, as we mentioned previously, the BBMF Spitfire will be attending the military show as well. And I think I'm nearly out of breath from all of those talking to Shuttleworth. But that is all the Shuttleworth shows covered. Thank you, Shuttleworth, for keeping us on our toes with all your announcements. But it is nice to see that you are getting lots of participation from the RAF and bagging some really cool international participants as well. Okay, speaking of international participants, the Headcord International Air Show. See that little segue there? Sorry, I tried to make it segue through possible. Have announced a couple of international participants. Oh, well, I say a couple. One international participant for themselves. So alongside that international participant, they have also announced, just like Shuttleworth, the BBMF Spitfire and Hurricane will also be taking part in their show. But their international participant is something that we've already talked about before, is the Norwegian Vampire. So this is from the Norwegian Historical Squadron, and it'll be taking part in the show, joining the Sabre that I believe has already been announced for the show as well. So for Headcorn this year, pretty damn good lineup, and a really, really cool aircraft. And I think Harry's going to tell us a bit more about the Norwegian Vampire as well.
Yes, once again, I'm very happy to see the Norwegian Vampire is back. Well, at another air show. It's those of you who may not remember that the Norwegian the Vampire is one of my favourite early Cold War era jet aircraft. Being able to see this again is absolutely amazing. If I'm believing correctly, obviously the Norwegian the Vampire from the Norwegian Historical Squadron is I'm probably going to butcher this. The De Havilland Vampire FB52, which I believe is the model that they are flying. I'm gonna have to, if I am correct, from all the sources I've found.
I did a little bit of looking into it. I think they have two different models. The best way I can describe it is one's got a long nose, one's got a stubby nose.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it.
Which is the difference between the two, because ultimately you can tell me the marks or the different types of them, and I would be like, okay. Yeah, one's got a long nose, one's got a stubby nose.
Yes, well, their version's got a little bit of history, which we probably have talked about in the past. But just as a quick recap, this was an export model which was exported to Norway for use between 1949 and 1957. This variant was licensed built in Switzerland in 1952, and it saw use in the Swiss Air Force until 1990. Which is a very long lifespan, nearly 40 years. Then it was briefly. Then once it has been retired, it was owned by a French owner. They don't specify who. They haven't specified who, but it was owned by them for a couple of years until it was sold to Krista Ansgar in Sweden, and then it was purchased. Then it was purchased from him in 2011, and now is part of the squadron, and is
And we
now.
get the brilliance of seeing it in the skies of the UK.
Indeed, we are, and it is going to be amazing because I really love the vampire. I just love, as I probably ratted on previous previous episodes, that I just love the unique designs of early jets because they hadn't figured out the formula of what would be the most efficient way to do it, and it's very much in the style of a piston aircraft until the design of the experimenting with the slope back wings, the different engines, the twin tails. I absolutely love it, and I think there's a lot of variety. So I'm very happy to be seeing this again at it's another air show, and I'm very glad it is. I think more people need to know about need to experience older aircraft, especially ones that can still fly.
Yeah, I think you noticed as well when you're looking through the Norwegian Historic Squadron that they also don't just have vampires; they also have other historic jets as well, don't they?
Yes, they do. Which I was quite surprised when I found this out, but it made me even more excited that they have a MiG-15, and as some of you people who may not know, that the MiG-15 is, to me, the quintessence. When I think of Cold War era jets, it's that jet that comes to mind. It's always the MiG-15, one of the first early jets, the iconic slope wings. It's, to me, when I think of early Cold War jets, that's the first jet that comes to mind, and it's always one of my favourites. Even the
Yeah,
later models of the
100%.
MiG-17. So I found out that they have one, and I'm like, just waiting for that to get announced at an air show. I'll be very happy. I mean, unfortunately, it hasn't been really flown in the UK, but it has been seen across other European air shows, ones that I cannot name off the top of my head as of this moment. But yeah, I'm still waiting. I will wait patiently for it to appear over the UK skies, and I'll be very happy when that day comes.
Yeah, we've been very unlucky, haven't we?
Oh,
Because
indeed.
last year, I think we went to go to 3 different shows that were meant to have vampires. And I'm 99% sure, and every single show that we went to,
They all broke.
they all broke.
Yeah, which is obviously never ideal, but it's all.
I mean, they're all jets. What do you expect?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're older. Generally, I props to all of the engineers and enthusiasts who keep these jets running.
Yeah,
Somehow.
A lot of hours goes into them. Somehow, but yeah. So fingers crossed this year we get to see it fly at some point.
Indeed, I will be a very happy person.
And just to make Harry happy as well. Okay, and then the last participation from Headcorn. They have added another civilian display team to their lineup, being the Starlings display team. Now, we've seen this display team once before, I think, at one of the Duxford shows. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was one of the Duxford shows. And this team has not been around for long. So they were formed in 2021 and fly 2 different aircraft. Now, visually, there's not much of a difference, but they are different. So they fly one extra 300 and one CAP 232. And the pilots have some really, really cool experience. So pilot 1 is Tom Cassell, who has over 7,000 flight hours. There's won multiple aerobatic competitions, including being the unlimited national champion 3 times. We also have pilot 2, who is Michael Pickin, who I think trumps the Typhoon display pilot of this year.
Yeah.
Because when was he first aerobatic champion?
14, which is probably the youngest I've ever seen with anything aviation related.
Yeah, so doing some investigation into the Starlings. Basically, every time a new sentence started, it was Michael is the youngest this, Michael is the youngest this.
Yeah.
And I'll just read the little bit of section that I have taken from their website. So Michael Pickin won his first aerobatic championship at age 14. He was the youngest person ever to be awarded a CAA display authorization for display flying. At age 23, he became the youngest ever British advanced national aerobatic champion, and today is the youngest unlimited level aerobatic champion in Europe. So just showing you who this pilot is. Lots of experience, and I believe is only 30 at this moment in time as well.
It is seriously impressive.
Yes. So definitely something to look out for if you are heading to the Headcorn International Air Show, and some very experienced pilots.
Definitely. because it's literally gone from the most experienced to the youngest experienced
Yes,
in a duo, and it's a really impressive display.
it is really, really impressive, and be one to look out for at the show. I think we are on to our penultimate show that we're going to be talking about, and it's one that we've been covering lots and lots of times, is Midlands Air Festival. So Midlands have kept their announcements over the last 2 weeks to pretty much RAF based, bar the one that was announced this morning, where they have announced that they will be getting the Red Arrows on the Saturday and Sunday, the BBMF and the RAF Falcons on all 3 days of the show going on. Now, the Red Arrows are, again, one of the only shows so far that I've seen that have got the Red Arrows. Obviously, we're still waiting to figure out whether or not this is actually, going to have this US tour that's been rumoured or whatnot. So, yeah, we're kind of waiting to see what else happens with that. But Midlands is one of the shows that's going to have them, only on the Saturday and the Sunday, which did cause a bit of chaos, because some people were like, well, I thought it was going to be on the Friday as well, because they have been for the last 2 years. Midlands were very lucky with that. But nevertheless, we get to see them on two of the days of the 3-day show. And some new and old people around the RAF Red Arrows, I think, as well, because they have a new commanding officer.
Yeah, and she's also the first woman to be a commanding officer for the Reds as well.
She is.
So after graduating from initial officer training, which they all have to do first off, in 2006, she was selected to fly the Tornado GR4, where she completed the operational conversion unit before being posted to 31st Squadron, which, for those of you who don't know, that's a squadron at Marham, where she then completed her operational tours because, as I've mentioned previously, most RAF displays have to have some sort of operational hours before they can go on to become instructors and then display. So then she became the qualified flying instructor teaching the next generation Tucanos at RAF Linton on Ouse, which, as we go through the pilots, you'll see a theme of a lot of them did go on to teach at Linton on Ouse. And then she was promoted to wing commander this year.
Yeah, so that's Sasha Nash,
Yes.
who is the new commander, and as you can tell, lots of experience. It'll be interesting to see what she does with the team.
Yes.
And going forward on her tenure there.
Definitely. And it's another inspiration for the young female aviation enthusiasts, because we don't really see a lot of female pilots. Obviously, there's more now as we go on, but back in the day, there wasn't as many, so now we're finally getting women breaking through. So it's nice that girls can have someone to look up to. That's because obviously we look up to the ones that are usually the same gender. So and
it's also nice to see that, looking at the qualifications, that it's not just a promotion for the diversity hire. She's got the credibility, she's got the credentials, she's done the tours, and that shows that it's promotion and based upon ability rather than anything else.
It's literally the exact same process every single Red has had to go through to get to the point they're at today.
Absolutely. And going from someone new to someone that's going to potentially be leaving the team at the end of this year is Red One Bondi.
Everyone's favourite.
Yes. He's been one of my favourite display pilots when he first joined the Reds and did his first 3 years there. And I think he has been a big resurgence for the Reds this year. Definitely. And over the last 3 years, with some of the stuff, shall we say, that was resonating around them before he took over, and he has done really, really well at bringing them back to being up to a 9 ship and bringing back small manoeuvres that have not been seen before.
Definitely.
And if for whatever reason they do end up going on this US tour, he will be a very good person to go and represent the UK with the Red Arrows, because he is the epitome of what a Red Arrow pilot should be.
Definitely. I'm actually going to be really upset when he has to leave.
Yeah, it'd be a shame when he does leave, but he has definitely put them back on the right path.
Definitely. And he's had an impressive career as well.
He has.
Because not only did he become a qualified flying instructor once passing his training, he was what they call in the RF a creamy qualified flying instructor, which, for those of you that don't know, it just means they're the best in the advanced flying training.
Yes. One of the weirdest names that I've heard the RAF given to people, but hey, it wouldn't be the RAF without weird names.
Exactly. And he also trained the next generation Tucanos at RAF Linton on Ouse. And he's also had a lot more display experience than a few of the other ones.
He has.
As he was a Tucano display pilot in 2012 before he was posted at Coningsby, where he flew the Typhoon with 3F Squadron. And he'd also had a previous period with the Reds.
He has,
I
yeah.
can't remember what year was that.
I can't remember what year that was. It was around 2016, something like that.
Something like, and he was leading the synchro pair at that time.
He was.
And now he's team leader after rejoining in the 2024 season.
He is. And he's not the only person that has previous display pilot flying as well, does he? Because a new person to the team this year is Red 2, who is someone that we've very recently known as a display pilot.
Brighty, he was a Typhoon pilot, was it?
3 years ago?
3 years ago, yeah.
So Matt Brighty is back on the display scene, not just as the Typhoon pilot this time, but as part of the Red Arrows, and his first year is Red 2.
So it's going to be very exciting to see what he does with that.
Yes, and it's nice to see that he is carrying on his time in display flying and joining the Red Arrows to be the ambassadors for the UK once again.
Yeah.
And that is joined alongside other pilots as well, which we'll very quickly run through, which is Christopher Dean, Rob Thomas, Andrew McEwen. I think I've just butchered that. George Hobday, Ollie Suckling, Chris McCann, Dustin Wales, and Stuart Roberts.
Which, for those of you that keep track of the Reds names, you'll know that some of those are new names this year.
Yep, so we're back to the sort of general Red Arrows where we're going back to doing 3 new pilots every single year. And then next year we'll obviously have a 2 new team leader, as long as Bondi does end up going after his 3 years. Unless he just ties himself to the chair or to one of the wheels of the Red Arrows or something and goes, I'm not leaving, I'm staying for another year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be the last year for Bondi this year as well.
Unless he goes for 3 years and decides to come back and it's like, oh wait, your team leader's gone missing, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's the type of person that wants to leave the Reds, but who would want to leave the Reds? Because it's when you hear pilots speaking about it, they just love it so much.
Yeah, 100%. And he's been a revelation with the Reds as well. Yeah, as we previously mentioned with Midlands Air Festival, they have got the RAF Falcons on all 3 days, which we've already spoken about the Falcons, and they've got the BBMF, which will be flying with the Dakota as their main aircraft, and then a Spitfire and Hurricane on each wing, obviously pending maintenance, etc.
Yes.
Of that. The final thing that Midlands announced, which was this morning, is they're going to have a Harvard flying on all 3 days, which I believe is what was last year's display aircraft, Wacky Rabbit, which is owned by Dave Petters, I think it's pronounced. Again, it's quite a stonewall Midlands. We've had one for the last couple of years, and I guess it's one of those what you see quite regularly at other air shows in the UK as well. So a good set of additions for Midlands Air Festival, which we're coming up to the end of announcements now, because they did say that we have they wanted it announced fully by the end of April. So
yes.
Yeah, we're basically there in Midlands. They've also announced the idea that they're going to have a special formation, which I believe, if I'm correct by the email that I received, might be a couple of formation passes with the B-17 and the Bronco together.
That'd be a nice sight.
So that's something to look forward to, and if they do announce it, maybe they won't, maybe they'll keep it as a surprise, but I think it was in an email that was sent out to people that are on the notification mailing list that said that was potentially what the is to come. And then finally, I believe, Hampshire Air Festival, the people that we've had on the podcast before, and it's nice to see that the RAF is supporting them this year because they have got 3 RAF acts
Yes.
that'll be flying this year.
It's always nice to see the RAF supporting new acts because you don't know if they're going to go to it. Because if it's around another time for other air shows, you don't know if they're going to prioritise the ones they go to more or whether they're going to add in an extra air show with the schedules. Yeah,
because it's on the Battle of Britain air show weekend for Duxford, which is normally a primarily well-supported air show by the RAF. So they, not Midlands, Hampshire Air Festival have announced that they will have a BBMF Spitfire pair, the RAF Tutor, and the BBMF Dakota at the show, which I believe the BBMF Dakota might only be 1 day. I can't remember.
I think it was only 1 day.
Yeah, so we've obviously talked about the BBMF so far across the podcast, but the one we haven't discussed so far is the RAF Tutor, which is one of the only first shows that we've had the Tutor confirmed for.
Yes, suppose.
They have released their own schedule as well, so assume for that to be coming soon because they've announced places like Cosford, etc. But they have a new pilot also this year as well.
And that pilot is Rich Tamola. I hope I pronounced that surname correctly. So it's be interesting to see how he flies the tutor and what his display is like.
He's been in the RAF for quite a while as well. I think he joined in 1996, was it?
Yes, and prior to this, he flew the RAF C-130 multiple tours, and he became deputy officer commanding 30 Squadron.
So has done a lot of time
Definitely.
and very experienced pilot.
So it's going to be very nice to see what he does with that.
Yep, so the tutor will be flying on both days of the show, so that's the Saturday and the Sunday. And just to confirm my previous suspicions that it wasn't, it was one of the days for each. The Spitfire pair from the Battle of Britain Memorial flight will be on Sunday only, and the Dakota will be on Saturday only, ending off those announcements from Hampshire Air Festival. But yeah, we're really pleased as a team to see that Hampshire Air Festival have been supported so well with the tutor, the Spitfire pair, and the Dakota, and they really deserve that for being a new show. And it's nice to see the RAF supporting the new show as well.
Definitely, because most families absolutely adore the RAF, so it wouldn't really be a show without at least one RAF item.
Yeah, and it's that pulling power, isn't it, for the show to sell some more tickets. And it's not even like it's some bad displays either. They've got some pretty cool acts with Richard Goodwin, etc. already at the show. So really looking forward to Hampshire Air Festival, and good luck to them for their season as well. I think finally we'll just very quickly mention the English Riviera show also announced their acts from the RAF, which they'll be getting the Red Arrows, the BBMF, and the Royal Air Force Typhoon. I think
that is everything.
That is everything. As you can see, the RAF allocations are out, and it is one nightmare to keep track of, especially with all these shows. It's going to be interesting to see what the Red Arrows do.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that the rumours were not true about the RAF Typhoon also going over to America, because as soon as the Red Arrow rumours or thing came out, basically everyone was like, oh, the Typhoon's going over, this is going over, this is doing this is doing this.
It was like everyone went to panic stations.
Yeah, but no, it's nice to see that the RAF Typhoon is staying in the UK and supporting quite a lot of shows. I think even Little Grantham was on there.
I believe so.
On their schedule, which is like, quite a small show. So see the Typhoon going there is pretty cool. So yeah, brilliant support from the RAF and for the UK shows. We'll keep an eye out to see what the Red Arrows do. And we are now really getting close to air show season. We're only, less than 2 months away from Midlands Air Festival?
Yeah.
And then we're just in the mix of the air show seasons, where we'll be bringing you as much information as possible. We're going to preview a couple of shows that are coming up, so that have got some significant acts. We don't know what shows they are going to be yet, but we will get to you, or we will let you know on our social medias what those shows are going to be. We're also hoping to get lots of photos and hopefully create some videos as well as we get to the shows to sort of do like a RIAT style after movie, I guess, of some of the shows.
Yeah.
Just to show you what's happened there, and also to do reviews when we've been to any shows that we go to as well. So keep an eye out for those to see our reviews, and hopefully, touch wood, the British weather does not get in the way.
And touch wood, nothing breaks as well.
Especially the vampires.
Especially
the vampires.
Yeah, I don't want Harry having a meltdown for not seeing a vampire for
No.
But yeah, that has been this episode 7 of the Air Showroom podcast, I believe. I don't know what episode we're on at this point. It feels like we're flying through. I feel like we've done 20 episodes with the amount of airshow updates that have come through. We're now getting into that nitty-gritty time of where everything's been announced. Fingers crossed for some more cool RIAT updates. Fingers crossed that these shows do go ahead. And we'll be keeping an eye out for anything cool that happens in the near future for air shows. Follow us on social media if you want to get involved in the chat. And any information we might have about any episodes coming out. Hopefully we might have some cool episodes to come through later this year. And yeah, come join us on there, chat to us, and yeah, let's enjoy these air shows that are coming up.
Yeah. Keep getting hyped with all the new announcements.
100%.
Indeed.
My name's been Dan. I've been your host, and joining me have been my two co-hosts, Harry and Chloe. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.